I feel like people have counted you out of this race. You know, I'm flipping through the New York Times this morning, the Washington Post, and you get really a snippet of the headlines compared to some of the other candidates.
Yeah, they'd like to ignore me and they'd like me to go away, but we're not going away because we have another message and it doesn't fit a lot of people. You know, it's not convenient for them to hear this because we're really challenging the status quo and all the special interests. And it's really challenging the Republican Party to act like Republicans. You know, they talk about balanced budgets and a few other things, but they haven't been doing it. So, yes, they'd like us to go away, but, you know, outside of the major media, our numbers keep growing. You know, the fundraising is better than the rest, and other than Romney, who has all his own money, I think we are outraising them, and the number of people joining the campaign is growing, you know, by leaps and bounds. So I would say that we're very viable. And
you're in Florida right now. It's going to be a very important state for you. Just how important is the state of Florida for your campaign?
Well, not nearly as important as it is for Giuliani. You know, if Giuliani doesn't get, you know, first or maybe second, he might even have to quit. So that's not the way we are. If we get fourth or fifth or something, that means our momentum continues. We've been second in a couple places, and we have more net votes now than Giuliani does, and he has spent a lot more money. And of course, he was rated very high on the polls. But, you know, we started off with 11 candidates for this race, and there's only 5 left. So, and we're ahead of Giuliani in net votes. So, you know, you look at it that way, and it sounds pretty good. And that's where the enthusiasm comes from. And we're raising the money, and people are joining us all the time. So I think we'll just continue to do what we're doing.
On February 5th is Super Tuesday. There's some speculation here in the state of Washington that if you do well on Super Tuesday, you will visit the state. Is that true or just speculation?
Well, I'm hoping to visit there, and I think there's a trip scheduled pretty soon, but I think it's going to come after we have the debates in LA, so I'm not exactly sure what that date is, but yes, I want to come by Seattle again.
I do want to talk about some of the issues. You're an outspoken opponent of the war in Iraq, and in Thursday's night debate, I'm going to quote you here, you said, "We should never be a country that starts a war. If you do become president, would you pull the troops out of Iraq?"
Yes, I would. I'd bring them home as safely and as quickly as possible because it's an undeclared war and all the conditions that were claimed to exist weren't there. And it's every day we realize that we have been misled. And we get ourselves into trouble because we don't follow the Constitution. We were told never to go to war without a declaration. And this to me has been a sad tragedy. And I think under those circumstances, we ought to come home. It's very costly in life and limb and money. Our economy is in shambles because we're spending all this money overseas. So the sooner we wise up and admit our mistake and come home, the better off we'll all be.
And you talked about the economy. President Bush just unveiled an economic stimulus package. Do you think it goes far enough? I mean, it's going to give folks, from what I've read, between $600, $1,200.
I don't think it's going to solve the problem at all. If they're true tax cuts, which I think a lot of them are, I can support that. But I have a package which shows radical tax reform, like getting rid of the income tax and the corporate tax, the inheritance tax, and gift taxes, and no taxes on interest and dividends. That's the kind of thing we need, is radical change in tax policy, reduced spending, and I would attack the overseas spending first and bring our troops home so that we can afford this. But we need to get away from central economic planning through government expenditures and Federal Reserve manipulation of interest rates. That's how we got into our problems, and that's all we're being offered is more government spending and manipulation of interest rates, and that will not solve our problems. We have to be more confident of how the market economy works, and we have to resort to going back to sound money, which means that we just can't create money out of thin air when we need it. We need some major changes in order to bring us some prosperity once again.
And you serve the state of Texas, large illegal immigration problem there. Here in the state of Washington, we've got some similar issues, especially in the central part of our state. What's your plan for illegal immigration?
Decrease the incentives for individuals to come to this country illegally. The promise of amnesty and the promise of free medical care and free education and automatic citizenship, as well as food stamps, will just mean there'll be more willing to break our laws. At the same time, our welfare system also encourages a lot of our people not to take low-paying jobs, and that makes the problem even worse. So I see it as more in economic terms. But we should beef up our borders. We should have more border guards. Our border guards shouldn't be in Iraq. We shouldn't have our guard units in Iraq. We should actually honor and respect national sovereignty. And right now it's a mess. There are some people who don't care that much about protecting our borders and wouldn't care if they saw a North American Union. And I don't like that direction. I still believe that we should protect our borders and have a policy of national sovereignty.
What a lot of people don't know about you is you're a medical doctor, very familiar with the healthcare system. And obviously something ain't working in the United States. What would you do to fix it?
Well, get rid of the managed care system that was created in the late 60s and early 70s, because the system we have now has been mandated by the government. It was created by the government, and managed care doesn't work. It does one thing: it pushes costs up and actually squeezes the patients, and it eliminates the doctor-patient relationship. And now the patients don't have choices of the doctor and the type of medicine they want. Alternative care is not available under government medicine. The sad part is free markets are being blamed for the mess that we have. The high cost comes from inflation, the devaluation of the dollar. So now the clamor is for one payment system, which is socialized medicine. And we should understand that the marketplace can deliver medical care just as it can deliver televisions and cell phones to us at a cheaper price, but we don't understand that, and unfortunately too many people think that we need more government. The obvious answer is a lot less government.
So you're saying universal health care would not work?
It'll make it that much worse. I
Okay.
mean, what socialist system would be better than the system that we've had over the years?
And I've got to ask you this question because there are literally thousands of signs in the city of Spokane saying, who is Ron Paul? So if you had to put it in a paragraph, please tell me, who is Ron Paul?
I can do it in a sentence. I'm the champion of the Constitution. And that means that if we were on the right track, which I believe we were when we had our revolution, we wanted to restrain the government and protect individual liberty. So that is the goal. I believe in individual liberty and freedom and what has made America great. So hopefully we will restore those principles and become a great nation once again.
All right, Congressman Ron Paul, thanks so much for joining us. Best of luck in the rest of your campaigning.
Thank you very much.